Have fun in running. So here we go. All right, I'm going to be the mistake blooper today.
I kissed a Nork and I liked it. The taste of his Bulgur chapstick. I kissed a Nork just to try it. I hope my ally friends don't mind it. It felt so wrong, it felt so right. Don't meet up in love tonight.
Hey everybody, welcome to Lions Pride Tavern podcast number 58. Tonight we find out how we did in last weekend's raid and the first ever Lions Pride Tavern Great Gnome Race. Plus, another one bites the dust. Hey, we finally progressed.
Yay.
But before all that, let's start off with introductions. I'm your host, Fafford. I play a Dwarven Beastmaster Hunter in the awesome game World of Warcraft. Next up is Lorelei,
Hi, it's Lorelei, your Night Elf Fury Warrior.
and then Epistle,
Greetings, I'm Epistle, and I play a pally now on 2 realms. One Draenei and one dwarf.
yay! Jobui is still feeling ill under the weather, and Tapachino had real life issues. So it's just us 3 amigos.
Hmm.
Cozy,
Hola.
but you know,
Hola.
quality will out, right?
Yes. Or we have no life, whichever comes first.
It's something like that.
Yeah. All right, so let's start off with this weekend's raid. We're going to just kind of take turns talking about the raid because Jobui's not here, and now we have to do something.
Oh,
God.
man.
So, Lorelei, why don't you start us
Get
off?
better quick, Jobui. Get better quick.
Yes, please.
Okay. Let's see. On Friday, we started our fresh heroic run, and we got Garoth down. No problems there. And then we went on and did Demonic Inquisition second, I
Yep.
believe we did. Yep. And
Yes, indeed.
we were discussing earlier that we did get that down in one shot, although in the beginning it was a little hairy because we had some new people and they were not quite familiar with the couple of new mechanics to the fight, but we got it together and we got ourselves a interrupt order this week, and it all worked out fine. I think there were several deaths, but we got it done, and that's all that matters.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
We lived mostly, and the boss didn't, and that's always a good raid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of on-the-fly mechanics going.
Yeah. But then our healers kept us up as best they could, and that was good too. So we gave them a run for their
Yeah.
money and a workout.
Well, what is it that comes out from the boss? Is it like some sort of thorns that come up out of the ground? I
Yeah.
don't remember the name of
Yeah.
it is, but yeah, that was one thing we really got better at over the last few weeks. And this week was a little sloppier because, new people not knowing where to go. And I think sometimes just some bad random number generators did not work in our favor. And so we took a little more damage than we needed to, but not bad.
Well, and
Yeah.
we were a smaller group this week too. So, we've been doing demonic with close to 30, and this one I think we only had like 24 or 22, something like that. And we did that, yeah, one pull. Yeah, that was right. So then we moved on to sisters. And,
And we did one pull, and then one more,
And
and
then
then another,
several
and
more.
I think we took a break and then pulled again and again. And yeah.
Yeah, that
But-
was a long evening.
but now we didn't finish it Friday, did we? Or did we?
No,
No,
we
we
did
did not.
We did Harjatan on
Oh,
Friday.
you're right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we,
that's right.
Oh,
Can't
he-
forget
oh,
about
he's
yeah.
so
Harjatan.
easy. He's so easy. He really is. We've got him down.
Yep,
Yeah,
Gorath
it was
and
really-
Harjatan.
Yeah, it was 3 up, 3 down on Friday.
Yep. Yes, we did because we were like, oh, look, Jobui, we got all 3 down, no problem.
Well, yeah, I was just excited we got past demonic, and Joe Bowie wasn't there. And then I was like, all right, we can rub it in his face. And then the next day, we spent all day on sisters. Well, almost all day. Right, Epistle?
Almost. After we tried it again and again and again and again. Although I'm making it sound terrible. We did have a sense last week that we were making some real progress. People were becoming more situationally aware. They knew what was going on in the fight. They kind of knew where to go, how to avoid the damage, the major things to watch out for. We were really figuring out the glaives were a big part of our problem because people were getting hit. There's 3 glaive bounces, and they get from bigger to smaller. And actually, it was the smallest ones that were consistently getting 4 or 5 of us at a time. So we just focused on that again this week, and that really let the amount of damage that was coming in just took it way, way down, and less stress on our healers and more DPS and a generally better fight. So we kept getting better and better. I don't remember the numbers exactly, but we were getting pretty close, like in the teens, a few attempts, which really showed us we just had a few bit of fine tuning in the mechanics and would be fine eventually. But yeah, what was the numbers on that one, Fafford?
So our last poll, which is the one before the kill, we got her down to 47%, and the one prior to that, 51. So we were all. That was when we were dying in the exact same spot because of the stupid glaive storm.
Yeah.
I mean, glaive storm was just kicking our butts. Then it was 18%, and that gave us some hope. We were looking good there. I don't know, is this one? Yeah,
I think
and then we
one
hit
of the
9%.
Yeah, and one of the problems at the end is that we're still getting those circles of silence or whatever they are, because they're not the ones with the arrows. We're still getting those being dropped in the middle of the room at the end. And then I remember saying that we got cut off a couple of times because
That's
I
right.
think that last time we could have gotten them down, but we didn't have anywhere to go because I remember I tried to leap over some because I needed to clear my stacks because I was up to well over 13. I was going into 14 or 15, and I was trying to find a way to clear them, and there wasn't anywhere to go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
ran into the same problem. I used all my cooldowns, and still, yeah, running out of room is never a good thing.
No.
Yeah, we
And then we
painted
did
ourselves
have
into a corner.
we did have a 2-minute long fight, almost 2 minutes 53 seconds. And I think that was when Zan found out that you could get too close.
Yeah.
And we had an error poll, another hunter. It wasn't the hunter, it was another hunter.
It was
Yeah.
the other
The
hunter.
other hunter.
All those hunters.
Yeah. Yeah, what do we got? Like 6 or 7 now. Holy moly. Yeah, I can actually.
Too much of a good thing, or never enough of a good thing. I'm
I
never
like it
never
because
sure.
there's always a better chance at getting more gear.
There you go. And if your tanks couldn't hold threat, you could be misdirecting all day.
That's right. So yes, so Friday we left off with sisters. We didn't get it down. And then Saturday we came back and four polls. 4 polls and down she went. 5th poll. Now,
Yep.
I have to say though that the kill shot was very unnerving because I don't think there was very many people still alive.
No,
towards the
Oh,
end.
we were
there weren't.
dropping like flies.
Yep.
That was one of those epic fights where everyone is dying and you think it's not going to work and the numbers are there, but you can feel the excitement building as people are like, maybe. And then I think we were down to the single digits, maybe 9 or 8, and I went down. So now we're 1 tank out. We know that we're kind of toast. Waiting for a res to come, gets there in time. I taunt off. I don't even remember if Darg was still alive at that time. Or because I think he went down shortly thereafter. So we were like surviving off of 1 tank, and then the last minute battle res keeps the other tank up, and people are falling, and dying, but then we're down to 2%, 1%, and there was 4 or 5 people standing up at the time.
There were
Yep.
1, 2, 3, 4 of us. It was
Oh,
Mirma,
man.
Dizzy, Ark and Shadow. I'm sorry, 5, all taken. And I thought I was still up.
I can't remember if I was up at the end. I don't.
Well,
I'm
I
looking
was
at the
No,
wrong one.
I don't
Sorry.
think so.
I was close to up at the end, but I'm pretty sure you guys finished it off without a tank. So maybe you got eaten last minute. I don't know. But in any case, it was one of those incredibly tight squeakers, but we pulled it off.
Yep. No, I was looking at the deaths of all the people that died. So I don't know how to see this.
I should be there twice.
Yeah, yours is on there.
Just once or twice?
Let's see. I got you once at 6:23, and then once at 7:57.
So just before the kill, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lorelei died at 8:07.
Yeah, I made
But
it almost to the end,
Yeah.
and then I
So
was out of range of heals.
and my name's not on that list, so I would have to go through the list and see who's not on it to know who survived. So
But that's
that's
pretty
why I couldn't
impressive.
find
Like
my name. Yeah.
anyone's still standing except the tank who died. So I'm not giving myself any credit on that one. But anyone who was still alive at that point wouldn't have been battle res. Somehow managed to avoid enough damage through the whole fight to be there at the end successfully. So deserving applause for their hard work on that one.
Yes. Because I know I was sweating it. I kept hearing everybody's like, "Come on, keep going, keep going." I'm like, "Oh, I'm just pressing buttons now."
You get to that point where you don't even know if you're live anymore. Because I got to that point, I was still hammering on my buttons and doing what I could, and then realized I'm not moving. Oh, right.
Yeah, I mean, literally, when I heard that, I was like, "Oh, just what do I have?" And I'm pushing all my buttons. I see my heel. And I push my heel. I don't even know if I needed it, but I did it.
The sounds of dozens of buttons
Yes.
smashing across the internet.
But we got sisters down.
Yes, we did.
And it does seem, once we do that, like once we do finally get a boss down, it does seem to get easier from there on in, is my impression.
Yep.
It's just that people have sort of, maybe they didn't believe that you really need to do those particular mechanics, but we get there and realize, yeah, oh, maybe we do.
Yeah, we do have 7 hunters. I just counted them. A lot of hunters.
Days.
A lot of ranged hunters.
A quiver full of them.
Yeah. So, and then we decided to move on to Mistress Zine. Because we went, what's going to be the easiest death trap that we can go to?
It's because Durag whispered me and said, "Well, do you think we can do host?" And I said, "No. We need a handbook for that one."
Yeah. Well, and everybody has done Sazine before, and I knew when we had attempted it a couple of times in the past, that's all we did. But it was interesting though, because the logs are showing our second pull. Let me just bring it up. So we didn't get her down, but our second pull, Sazine. Yep, I think it was our second one. What we got? No, that was 52%. That was the third one.
My impression first going in, though, was that it felt like we knew what we were doing. It wasn't like we just got in there and got wiped. It was a series of mechanics. People were, there's green beams coming out. We seemed that we were spreading those. People were more or less staying out of the electricity on the floor. Tank swaps were going fine. Heals were fine. So it felt like we're doing pretty good and going through at least 1 or 2 cycles of the mechanics without any errors.
Yeah, we got her down to 14% on our second pull. And the third pull was 19, or fourth pull was 19. So we didn't do so well, then we did really well, then we didn't do so well, and then we did really well. So, but we're getting it down in third phase, 13 to 19%. I think we have a little bit more work to do, and we'll have her down.
Yeah. I think that's not going to be so hard. What do you think, Laura?
It always seems, because my guild had the same problem, is that we would do fine until we got into the third phase, right toward the end of the fight, and then it just all seemed to fall apart. You see, I think, and I don't know if this is true, but it seems like you get a lot more ads coming in faster. And I know one of those pulls we must have had about 10, 15 ads up. So that was taking everybody out there.
Yeah, we were getting overwhelmed for sure.
Well, and I know that one of the things we were doing really well on third phase last poll, but our green goo from killing the ads disappeared right as the cyclone. I mean, the cyclone came out, and we're like, oh, we're good, we got green goo, and as it starts approaching the green goo, it disappeared.
Yeah, I'd position just to get the last of that last piece, and I see it just dissolve at my feet, and then I have to bubble and get through the tornado, but oh well.
So I was actually talking to one of our raid members, and I think what we should do is, and we should give this ability to the tanks, but for you guys to mark one specific one, because if there's 4 or 5 or 6 of them out there, we may be spreading out the damage between all of them rather than concentrating on one. Where if you were to mark one, I know it's something else you've got to do, but where the tank can control which one, mark one, and then we can all target that one, put a skull on it, and target it. Especially if
that's probably good.
The cyclone's coming out, or getting
Yeah.
close. Because, I mean, that's happened twice now. The cyclone came out, and as it's coming, now it disappeared. So it's a timing matter, to get one of those dead.
Yeah. The other thing I was hearing from some people too is that they were thinking they might want to reconfigure their spec just a little bit for that fight and have a little more AoE heavy damage than they've done on other fights.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I always try to remember to switch mine out before we start.
So yeah, we did. I think we did overall for the raid. We did really, really well, because Friday's composition of people were different than Saturday's, and now we still had about the same amount of people, for Friday and Saturday. So we didn't have a full group, but I think that helps having a little lower end. But we'll see. Next weekend can be entirely different. That's what I love about this game.
So do you think then, like I've always tried to figure out, it feels almost like sometimes the alchemy is just right in a group composition, or the numbers or the proportion of healers to DPS. Do you think we're actually better off with more or with less? Like I can't get my head around exactly how that works or why.
Well, everything I've read says 1 healer per 5. So, but I'm sure that's a really well-tuned healer, I would think. But we seem to do pretty good with that plus 1. So if we have 20 people, we have 5 healers. And we seem to do really well when we have that. It just kind of gives the healers a little break where they're not, being so frantic. Because I can't imagine playing a healer, because I'm playing a hunter and I can move all over the place. And it's everything I can do to keep moving to avoid the blade storm, in Sisters. And I can't imagine the healers, they got to stand still to cast their spells unless they're tranking, then they can run. But that's only the druids.
Yeah,
So,
there's
I don't
some
know.
AoE options, but not a lot, and so that does create all kinds of problems. You have to kind of run, heal, run, heal, run, heal, and that's a pretty active fight.
Now,
So
from melee, Lorelei, does the running part bother you as far as being a warrior?
It does when you're trying to DPS things, and then I'm trying to turn myself so I can see where the split's going to happen. And if you get too close and you're paying too much attention to what the boss is doing, then you don't sometimes see 1 or 2 of those smaller glaives come by.
Yeah. And the smaller ones aren't as bad unless you get hit with multiple ones.
Yeah.
And they seem to converge. Like there'd be like 4 or 5 of them converging at a point.
yeah, it does seem like that. Now, you were saying that you were trying something. I know that I've been talking with Bronzebeard about maybe how we could handle the glaives like mechanically or systematically, and he had a couple suggestions which would sort of taken under consideration. I did like the idea of marking sections of the room and then calling out which sister, well, the sister that throws the glaive is in one of those positions. We call it the position, so it's easier just to be aware of what's coming from. But I had been wondering, we'd talked about if you run to that sister where it gets thrown from, like the starting position, we'd kind of wondered if that was, in essence, going to be the safest place in the room when that happens or not. Did you have some chance to experiment with that?
I did. But I didn't want to announce it because that's also at the same time we get the laser beam. And I didn't want everybody to just start running over to the cat to get next to it when the glaive storm comes out and forget about the laser beam.
No, true. But here's a thought. But if the laser
did
beam's
work.
got to come out, but if the laser beam's got to come out on somebody and we're all in the same place, is that going to make it easier or harder?
We'll try. We should try it. I mean, I know we got it down, but it might be a really easy mechanic to switch to. Now, the thing is, the cat jumps
Yeah.
every time. So you got to be really situationally aware where the cat's at. But and I want to, before we go any further, I want to throw a shout out to Bronzebeard for coming up with this strategy and talking about it, because it's not often that someone, really sits down and does the geometry, or no, what is it, trigonometry? What was he doing?
Well, he's
Calculus?
been studying physics all afternoon, so it
Physics,
was
yeah.
very much on his brain.
And he's the one that suggested, he's like, and that's what made me think of it. He said, it's coming from the cat and it's going out straight out through the room and it's going to hit the other side and it's slow moving. And I was like, that's a good idea. If you start off, now you can't start off too close, because when the blade comes out, you can get hit when it comes out. But I just got over by the cat and watched it come out and go across the room, and it hits and splits, and then by that time you can see where it's coming and you can get out of the way. But it didn't seem to come back to the cat on any of them until the small ones came out. And then there was a chance that you could get hit by the small ones. But I want to throw that out to Bronzebeard, because he's the one that made that suggestion, and I
Yeah,
took
it was
advantage
good.
of it.
And
Well,
I
and the
do
other,
like having it marked, having the
And yeah,
sides
and then
marked,
he's
yeah.
the one that did the marks, right? Isn't he suggested the marks?
I think he was suggesting it to Darg about where to put them. But
Yeah.
yeah, he had suggested putting those marks down. The one other thing I noticed that's sort of connected to that is the times we got ourselves into problems on those polls, people were clustered into a corner by the wall. Not that they were together, but they were by a wall. So when the bounces happened, that's when people tended to get all just chewed up. Right,
Yeah.
because it would go through a whole bunch of people and you had no reaction time. It bounced nearby you and then came into you and game over.
Well, and I think one of the other things, to be honest, was I don't think people understood the difference between the glaive storm and the regular glaive. Because the regular
Right.
glaive, it follows you. So it doesn't matter whether you run. When it says you have the glaive and it's coming after you, it doesn't matter where you run and where you blink, it's going to hit you. It always has for me anyway. Now maybe
Yeah.
blinking is something different if you blink right before, but it always hit.
As far as I know, you're if it aims at you, you're toast. The only thing you want to do is not have anyone between you and the boss when it happens.
Correct. Yeah, because you're going to end up putting that glaive through people. So you just need to get out so that glaive comes. And I think once I told everybody there is a difference between those two, you can survive the little glaive, but it's the glaive storm. When that comes out, that doesn't go to a person. That just goes through the middle of the room. So, and I think that made it a lot easier on people, because I think they were, anytime a glaive was coming out, they're thinking it was glaive storm, and they were, chickens with their head cut off running all around.
Yeah, which is when you need to maybe even not run around, just make sure you're safe and move if you're not. But that's why I've been trying to count it down. Like there's the first split, there's a second split, there's the third split, because that's the third one people really have to know that it's
Yeah.
that it's trouble.
Well, the first one, if you get hit by the big slow-moving glaive on Glaive Storm, it's like 20 million damage. I don't know too many people that can survive that.
Oh, you see, I've been nicked by it a couple times, and I notice my health goes down a little.
Well, yeah, that's because you have, 6
That's 'cause I
healers,
got armor and I'm a tank.
armor, and you got 6 healers always concentrating on you. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay.
Yeah, you were those
Not the best
special
sample
people.
side for this one. Yeah, that's what I get told all the time. Usually followed up with medication or... Oh, wait, no.
Yeah. So, yeah. So just those couple little things I think really helped. So we'll see how we do next weekend. I mean, that's...
Yeah, that fight and sisters is sisters and Sazine are just so situational and positional that you gotta really understand when can you stand on the wall and when can you not stand on the wall. And I don't think everybody's figured that out yet.
Well, we still haven't gotten the volleys down yet.
Yeah.
And both volleys. There's 2 kinds of volleys. There's the one volleys that the arrows come down, which aren't as bad. They do a little damage, but the other ones, I think it's 3 rings that pop, and they follow you. So if you take off running from the volley, thinking it's the one with the arrows, you're going to spread those right across the room. And they
And I
all...
think I did that at one point, not knowing that I had it because I was running anyway.
Yep.
And then
And
suddenly I said, why do I have circles following me?
yeah. So the volleys are pretty important to be up against the wall. Because then only half of the circle, if you're up against the wall, only half that circle shows inside the room, which is great because that means the other half isn't hitting anybody. But
Yeah, it's easier to layer up the subsequent circles too, then, because you can get as close as you can to the edge.
yeah, now what you can do with those is just, you drop one, move to the edge of it, drop another one, move to the edge. But it's one of those things that when you're doing it, it's kind of like when you do Maiden of Vigilance, and everybody was just like, "Oh, I got these little swirlies under me, and they're running all over the place, and there's swirlies all over." And now we do this little, two-step dance and drop them in a little square or triangle, and now that mechanic's just like null and void. But it's that panic effect that people get when they get it. It's like, "Oh my God, run! I got to get there!"
Yeah,
And then you're
it's
dropping
like
three of them in the middle of the room.
well, it's like the whole fight is that, right? It's just overload of all these mechanics, and you have to figure out which is more important, which is less, and which do you have to react on a dime to, and which can you sort of gradually move away from. And I think maybe as a raid, generally we're moving away from that panic mode, and that's going to help us a lot, which is what really surprised me about Sazine. It was almost like we went in there and went, oh yeah, we understand this fight somehow. The mechanics aren't as confusing. We're just more comfortable. We know when we have to move and when we don't. So
Okay, but
I'm a lot more optimistic on that one.
Did you notice what I did though when I came into the room? Because and nothing against Jobui, he's fantastic, but we walked into it and I went, all right, well, there's just a couple mechanics. We got the 3 beams. Just make sure you spread them out and you get people in between them. And then, what was the other one? There's 2 mechanics that are new. The 3 beams, and we did that one great, by the way. I thought, there was a couple of times they got a little close and they were a little short, but we
Is there
survived
another
through
sort
it.
of another debuff? It doesn't affect the tank, so I'm not sure what that one was. Do you get some sort of debuff you have to
Well,
drop
maybe it's
off
just
or
that
not
one,
step in?
Lorelei.
I think
What do you
it's just
think?
the one there. Yeah, because we get the green stuff on the ground. We get the crashing
Oh
water,
no,
whatever that's called.
the little murloc that gets on your face. That's
Oh,
the other one.
we don't.
All right.
That's not on normal.
Yeah, no, it's not on
It's not,
normal.
no.
Oh,
No,
you know what? Because I
no, it
very
starts with
seldom
heroic.
get it
Yeah, me too.
anyway, and I thought it was on normal.
So, and I forgot about that one until we pulled the first time. And I was like, oh yeah, that guy. You got to get in the lightning from the jellyfish. But what I did is I downplayed it. I didn't make it like it was a big deal. I didn't do a lot of explaining. I just said, I actually did just the one mechanic. And I said, let's give it a pull. Let's see what it's like. And I think that puts everybody more at ease because they're like, well, we do this one all the time, And even though it wiped us and wiped us and wiped us and wiped us, I think it relaxes people more, like you said.
Yeah, it's like you have to know the priority. What break it down to this is your A, biggest danger, B, your biggest danger, C, well, sorry, not your biggest. A is your biggest danger, B is, dangerous but not as bad, C is try to avoid, D is, yeah, that's not really very good, E is, it happens.
Well, of course, then there's always Fallen Avatar, which isn't that the one? Yeah, that's the one where we got to go. It's got the big pit, right? Isn't that Fallen Avatar?
Yep.
Or is that Desolate Host?
No, that's Fallen Avatar.
That's
where you
Fallen
fall
Avatar.
through the floor
Yeah, where they got the pit
to
in
the
the middle.
island. Yeah, the lava island.
Oh no. Okay, so I'm talking about the pit in the middle. That's Desolate Host then.
Oh,
So
Desolate
just like
Host has the top and the bottom. The above ground and the below ground.
okay.
Oh no. Oh,
No.
I know what pit you're talking about now. That's Maiden of Vigilance.
Oh, that's Maiden of Vigilance.
The-
Okay,
the
well,
jumping
jumping in the hole, yeah.
one.
That's
Yeah,
right,
it's
yeah.
Maiden. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
That
so
one
it's just
really just has one extra mechanic, which shouldn't be hard to figure out.
yeah. No, where I was
Right.
going with it was that Jobui spent a lot of time on Maiden. He made all this stuff for it and everything, and I think everybody panicked. And it wasn't until he set this Jobui alarm off that everybody went, well, it's really not that bad. Let's just do this. And we've been walking through it now. So I think at some point too much explanation is bad, but at other times it's needed. So it's a fine balance, and I think he does a great job with it. Don't get me wrong. I don't want him to stop calling, but
It's a tough job,
it
right?
is. It really
Calling is a
is.
really, really tough job. I've very rarely stepped up on that because I find it more comfortable to sit back, watch, analyze, and try to figure out what's the one thing or the two things to work on. And I try not to put my oar in until I see it, but I really like being able to do that in a raid, and I appreciate people who are sticking their necks out trying to call stuff to make it work for us. So I'm always grateful for people who are doing that. But yeah, I agree with you that I'd rather go into a fight and know, okay, I need to do this thing. And so usually it's Darg and I talking about it from a tank perspective to say, okay, here's how we, it's always high stakes for us though, right? Here's how we could wipe the raid. Let's not do these three things, and then everyone else can figure out their dance. So it's almost like we have to know the dance before anybody else, the basic outlines of it, or it's really high stakes stuff. So when I came back from having been away from vacation, there were a few things, and Maiden was one of them, right, where I was starting to figure out some of those steps, and I blew it a few times, and it ended catastrophically for us. So, a tank has to know those steps going in, but I would rather not try to tank and call because it's just cognitive overload. There's only so much I can do at a time. And tanking takes a lot of that time and attention. But I like to be able to still, once I sort of get the feel for it, find out those one or two things and then make suggestions to the raid leader. And so I always think it's a luxury when somebody's willing to be there and step up. I'm always very grateful. Wait a minute. Shouldn't I be saying this to Jobui's face, not when he's away?
When he's away. No, it's easier to say when he's away.
There you go. Thanks, Jobui. Deeply appreciate it. And I'm not going to say that when you can respond. Ha!
No, I mean, I think this particular raid group is one of those raid groups that if you just start off and let everybody do their thing and we get to a certain point where we're constantly hitting our head against the wall, then come up with a strategy for whatever that is, then let them get past that, then hit the next wall, get them past that. Where if you try to explain it all at once, it's just like that very first time with Kill Jaden. We got past the dark phase the first time, and we'd never talked about past the dark phase, what to do. And Jobui's frantically calling stuff out, and we got it down because we do listen. I mean, he calls them his audibles. When he calls an audible, we do listen and we do react to it just the way we should. And that's what I love about this raid group is that we have that team, because that's tough to find, guys. It really is. I've been in the military, and they from day one in the military they talk about team, and that's what the military is all about: is being a team. You can't survive unless you are. And so in the civilian world, it's really tough to find those people that click together, and to find 30 plus people that can do that. I mean, this is an amazing raid group. I know, tough to follow that, huh?
Yeah.
What more can you say?
Well, I was thinking about it from even, if you wanted to teach somebody something, and I know we have a few teachers or ex-teachers in our group as well. If you want to teach somebody something, the whole here's your lecture on everything is not the best way to learn. It's here's something to use now. And here's another thing to use on the next step. And here's another thing. You break it down into components for people and then work it through. There's very few people, although there are some, right, who you can kind of outline the whole thing and beginning to end, they're like, good, got it. But that's a very rare thing. Most people need that information at the time. So yeah, tell me about the dark phase. I don't need to know about the dark phase. Fight. I need to know it. Now suddenly anything you say is extremely important, and I am paying attention to every word because I'm desperately thinking I'm going to fall off the edge. I'm going to die. But walk to where the ping on the map is. Got it. I can do that now.
Yep. Yeah. So, all right. Well, I think we've beaten our raid to death. We did really well, guys. And hats off to the raid team and everybody that helps with it. Really sorry that Jobui couldn't make it. He'd have been proud of us. I guarantee it. He would have been cheering too. I know Zan fan. This was his first time raiding with us. And how's he start off? He did really well. He whispers to me and he goes, what item level do I need to be to help you with your raid? And I'm like, well, you got to be at least 900. And he goes, oh, good, I'm 914. I was like, holy crap, I'm only 911. But none of his gear is raid gear. So, but he did really well. He was still on the bottom end of the DPS charts, but he did really well as far as listening, following instruction, and everything. But he said when Sisters went down, he said his heart was pounding.
Oh, nice. Does he do much raiding?
No, no, he used to, but he got
Ah.
into one of those raid groups that are, it's all 12-year-old kids going, "You suck, it's all your fault,"
Oh,
you know.
man.
So I convinced him to come back to WoW because he's one of my gaming buddies. I convinced him to get back into WoW and to come raid with us because we're totally different, and he is absolutely loving it. I mean, he's talking about switching his whole channel over to nothing but World of Warcraft.
Neat. Well, I'm glad he could enjoy his time with us.
Oh yeah, he's all about. Since we did the gnome race. Speaking of,
Oh,
we'll start
Yeah.
talking about the gnome race.
So,
Um,
Lorelai, thanks for talking us into this.
Oh.
I had a hoot. It was a blast.
It was fun, even though there were some little cheaty things that were going on. It was
Wasn't
still
me.
fun.
Wasn't me.
No,
Wasn't
no.
me.
It was the way it was, when you got that many people, it was just the way it was done.
No, yeah.
Well, so let's talk about it. So Blizzard finally, what is this? After 4 years of, I can't remember her
Yeah.
name. I'm sorry.
The running of the gnomes.
Yeah.
That's what they call it.
Yeah, but I mean the gal that's actually that's put it on for the last 4 years. I can't remember her name, but anyway.
We'll have to make a comment on the links later because
Yeah.
that's kudos for somebody doing that for this amount of time.
Yeah.
Yep. But it's really amazing that Blizzard got into it now. But Blizzard's done something that she could never do, and that was they laid the course out. They had, gnomes on the sideline cheering you on. They had the gates you had to go through so you couldn't, cheat and go across some other direction or, follow the wrong gnome.
Or get lost. Nobody did that in our race.
No.
Oh, I just died enough times that I missed 3 of the gates, so I wait a whole nother year to finish it.
So I really think, and if Blizzard's listening, please do this. I think you should make it an achievement because I didn't die. I ran and I hit every gate. I ran at the tram because I spawned in and everybody's running in place and the tram's not there. I'm standing there. I was like, oh, I'm just going to run. So I ran, and I forgot how long a run that
That's
is.
a long
That's
trip.
a long run.
But there's people like JobUI who's like, oh, I got on the tram. I'm going. All of a sudden, the tram disappeared. Now I'm in the pit.
Yeah,
And
I
now
got
I'm
lucky.
running.
I think I got on the first tram. So I was up with the first group that got there, but I was afraid I was
wondering
going
how
to
you did
DC
that.
the whole time because my screen kept freezing every time I'd open up I have Frenemy as an add-on, and it shows you everybody you know that's online plus your guild. And I don't know how many people we had in the guild that they put us in, but every time I opened that, my whole computer screen would freeze up.
Maybe not so bad. My computer gave me the impression that everything was fine and everything was great, but I missed 3 gates, even though I saw running through them that I was going through them, but it didn't register. So that was annoying. So I didn't actually complete it according to the gates that they were measuring. But I did get there earlier, but I think after you, because I ran into Nomergon Station, and I chilled and looked around and thought, this is interesting. Why can't I see the trams? And then I see a couple gnomes suddenly float up in midair, and I think, oh, it's there. Run on. Of course, I couldn't get onto the tram because I didn't get there in time. And off go all these little gnomes in midair flying off. And I think, okay, so I missed that tram. You were probably on that particular tram. And so I was
Probably.
not too far behind you. But it didn't show up for me until a little bit later. I wonder if that's... I got a new computer. I'm not sure I've ever loaded that particular data into my machine. I wonder if that's that could
That
have
could have had
affected
something to
it.
do with it.
I
Yeah.
think it's
Yeah.
that or just the lag on the server is so high
Yeah.
because
With
I
that
don't.
many people.
I haven't looked on the website, their Facebook rather, to see how many people they had logged in for doing that. But last year it was over 2,500 people. That has
2,800.
got to put a tremendous
Oh,
amount of
yeah.
pressure on the servers.
Well, and
Oh
the other
yeah.
thing it created for us at the beginning too, there was some of us who got in early. I think Lorelai, you were there early. I was. We were all like, "Hey, this is cool," and we wanted to be able to sort of connect with each other, at the very least, see each other's tunes, but we couldn't
Yeah.
because we were all kind of all phased out, which I understand the need to do. And then we'd try to get in the guild together, but even then, you couldn't always see people that you wanted to be with, which was unfortunate. But maybe they can find some magical way to get around that.
Yeah, that's tough because you can't go into a raid group. We found that out
Oh yeah.
because we were too low level.
Yeah, I had a higher level 2 and that I was trying to invite people to, but I couldn't invite a level 1, so that ended that option.
Yeah, so let's walk it through step by step. So start off in the gnome race. You come out of Nomergon, and you come into the valley. And as soon as you do, it had a start flag. There was a quest there. The quest is one that gave you, what was there, 34 gates, I think was the
Mhm.
total. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the start time was, right at 7 p.m. Eastern. And so we're all standing there, and it worked out really good. I mean, I turned off all the names. I had to. um, but the guild kept throwing messages up like, don't get on your chauffeured chopper. This is a gnome run, stuff like that. But and there were a few people that weren't paying attention to that. But so you
Well,
start off there at Nomergon, and then when the timer went, then you took off running. Go ahead.
yeah, that's right. And you go into Nomergon and you catch the tram, take the tram down to Stormwind, run out there. And as you're saying, they have all these little stops along the way. So you pretty much just stay on the road, and then they have gnomes standing at the side or barriers standing at the side of all the little turnoffs. You could easily avoid them and run off in the wrong direction, but it's pretty obvious. Like there's a very clear set of breadcrumbs, and if you can't see the next gate from your current gate, just a little ways up the road, it should show up.
Yeah, and on the mini map, they were showing up as gold dots.
Yeah,
I
and
do
I
know
could.
that.
Yeah.
There's a few times I couldn't see the next one, but I just sort of kept with the road and trusted it was going the right way. And I figured, the 2,000 gnomes around me probably couldn't be wrong either.
Yeah.
Yeah. My first death was somewhere when we crossed the river into Darkshire, and I think I missed at least one gate there.
See, and I think
Yeah,
everybody
me
else
too.
did too because somebody said that they went back and there was one in the river.
Oh, I didn't remember seeing that one.
See, I
Yeah, I
didn't
didn't
see
see
it
that
either,
either.
but I must have went through it because then as soon as you got across, I kept going straight and everybody's like, "Oh no, it's over to the left." And you look over to the left and
Yeah,
there's
I
where the
didn't
gate
see
was.
one.
Yep,
Oh,
I did the same. I crossed the river, didn't see the gate, like I'd originally seen it, and then as I was crossing, when I got across, I couldn't see it. I couldn't see anybody else. I could see a couple of mobs, maybe a couple of gnomes around, but I went from a crowd to suddenly this sort of empty field, and so I ran quite a ways in the wrong direction. Fortunately for me, there were some higher levels going around killing all the mobs, so I didn't get mugged right away, and I was able to get back on track, but I think I missed one of my gates there at least.
yeah. I
Yeah.
think I might have missed second because when I rezzed in the cemetery at Darkshire, and I had to run all the way back. So I just found my body, turned around, and I ran in the direction of the town. But I probably missed two there.
All
Yeah,
right.
that's about when I saw my numbers going down. So, it's kind of buggy, and I don't know that Blizzard does things like this, and so I appreciate that they tried to make it work.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was a good effort. It was just a lot of weight on the servers.
I'm sure there was a lot of planning on the pit crew's part to making sure there was people along the path killing things. Now, like Lorelei said, though, that isn't a real gnome race. I mean, that's Blizzard's gnome race. Because
Yeah.
Blizzard, they like to dumb stuff down. They dumb the whole game down. Where it used to be difficult, now it's, any kid can play it. They did the same thing with the gnome race. So, my challenge is out there again. I think we set another date and we do another gnome race. We'll get the podcast together again. Now that I've talked to all 7 of them that participated, we'll get all 7 of these podcasts together and their fans, and we'll just do our own gnome race. Same run, but we'll, just between us instead of, everybody in the world doing it. I think that's an awesome idea. What do you guys
Yeah.
think?
I think it's good too.
Because then there's no elites killing stuff off for you, and oh, here's the
Well,
path
yeah.
that
You know
you
how many
gotta do.
times? You know how many times I died? Zero. It was like I just was in a mob beginning to end, and it was
Yep.
fun, and it actually reminded me of a lot of. I've done a few marathons, half marathons, and it was entirely like that. It just had that feel of lots of people. Although in my real life marathons, people didn't phase out and disappear. It was it was kind of like that otherwise.
Yeah. The only thing I didn't like I said, the only thing I didn't like is going to the tram, um, just because of that phasing issue. But that was because there were so many people. I
Yeah,
mean,
that and
I
Dark
get it.
Char. Well, then
Yeah.
the end point was a problem. They might want to rethink how they do the ending because everybody all arriving at the same point started to get really
Oh yeah, I
unwieldy
couldn't
and
even
crowded.
turn the quest in with all the gnomes that were on top of the building in Booty Bay. But it was an awesome sight to see.
It was.
And
Yes, indeed.
so what we did, so everybody knows what we did, is we kept the Lions Pride Tavern Discord channel open. We're going to leave that open to the public. So if you guys want to join, I will post it in the description. And then we're on Scarlet Crusade. We have a Lions Pride Tavern guild, and if you'd like to join us on that, the only thing we require is, and it's not really a requirement, I would love to see just gnomes. Unfortunately, there are certain classes that can't be gnomes, so I
And
get it if
difficult
that's the one.
people, and
Yeah.
difficult people who don't comply with reasonable expectations.
Well, and then so level 1 gnomes started off. Get it there. We'll invite you to the guild. Just whisper me. My tune name is LPT Fafford because we decided to put LPT in front of our names for the gnome race. For some reason, we thought we would be able to see everybody with LPT on them, and somebody goes, "No, turn your names off, otherwise you'll lag out." And I was like, "Oh, I'm turning my names off." So I had no clue where anybody was at, but I had a blast running. But anyway, we'll invite you to the guild. You can run with us if you're a fan. Start on level 1 gnome. You can do what my wife did and spend $60 and
Wow.
boost your tune. But I'm going to remind you, make sure you get your professions before you boost your tune. Otherwise, you have to do what she does, or she's doing. She's leveling her professions from 1.
Youch.
She
Was
spent
it's
$60 and she's got to start all
Oh
over.
man. But she made some bags for me, which is just wonderful. So
Yes,
we'll
she
have
made
some
bags
guild
for
skills.
everybody in the guild. And she found out
Awesome.
that the mail will only let you send so many emails a day.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, never knew that.
Yeah, I had no clue either. She came down, she goes, "Did you realize?" I'm like, no. But yeah, she did her tailoring and made bags for everybody. So she's taking care of the guild. It's a good
Aw,
thing.
tell her thank you. I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
she's being a true mommy. So, all right. So what else? You got any really cool stories about the gnome race? Anything really spectacular happened to you while you were out running, Lorelai?
Um, no, I got saved a lot because I did try to use my strategy of staying in the middle of a group as much as possible. So there were only a few times when I got caught running by myself, but there was a time when we were heading down Stranglethorn, and I was in a group of about, I think, 6 people, and I saw the dinosaurs start coming out, and I'm like, "Oh," I went to go stand near somebody, and pretty much everybody else got eaten, and then I got eaten. So my strategy worked, at least for a little while. Stay in the middle and let everybody else take it.
Your
Yeah.
strategy worked very well for me. I tried that, but I was luckier. I think because you were a little ahead, maybe the pack was a little bit thinner. I was right in the middle of the herd, and people were rainbowing each other using like that we use for our
Yeah.
boss polls, and all the way up and down there's all these rainbows, which was fun. But at one point I saw this dinosaur come and start chomping on a couple people, and I was like, "Uh-oh, I could be next." But there were so many, I don't think it would have. And then, of course, one of the higher level came along and took it out. So I had a guardian angel as well as the herd immunity.
So
Yeah.
many gnome snacks. The dinosaur's going, yeah, look at this.
Om nom nom.
I know. I got past the gorilla area without getting killed by a gorilla. So
I didn't even see
I guess
any
somebody
gorillas.
was killing those off pretty quick.
I didn't see panthers. I didn't see gorillas. I saw one dinosaur. Everything else was dead.
I was with a group that when we came in, there's that one panther that sits right inside the entrance, and he got somebody. But and then we had a tiger following us. But again, I stayed in the middle, and somebody else took the bullet for me. But yeah, then I
Good of them.
phased somehow and ended up being on my own for a few minutes.
So
Well, I
anyway,
figure
guys.
that's a
Yep.
normal, right? And now we want to do it on heroic.
Yes.
Yeah, that'll be that'll be mythic.
Yeah. Yeah, mythic. So yeah, we'll send that to the Goblin Goldcast and the other podcasts that are out there that ran this, see if they want to do one, and we'll coordinate it all, and then we'll announce it. Get all of our fans in there again. So, but yeah, so fans, if you want to join us, you can join our guild now. We'll join our Discord channel. Not saying that we're going to be in there all the time, but when I'm playing my gnome, I hop in the Discord channel for Lions Pride Tavern. So, if Zan and I were on for a while, we started leveling our gnomes. I think we're both like 18 now. He's doing a priest, and of course, I'm doing a hunter.
Oh yeah. Well, hey, you can also look for Epistle because I can do guild invites now, right?
Yes. And so
look
can
for
Lorelei.
Epistle.
I made.
There you go.
Yep, I made all the podcast members guild or officers, so you guys can do invites.
Oh,
So if you
okay.
hear any of the names of the only one I haven't got is JobUi because he hasn't brought his gnome into the guild yet. But any of the podcast members, if you see their name running around, by all means, whisper us for an invite, and we'll
Yep,
get
be
you in the guild.
glad to toss you one. Yep.
Yep. And then, like I said, Discord channel will be in the description, and I think I'm just going to start leaving it in the description, so it doesn't have to be, necessarily that you want to join us on Scarlet Crusade. You can just hop in Discord and say hello anytime you want. We're all about our fans. All right, I think it's time. Let's cue the music. It's time for Lorelei's Pet Battle Minute.
Hello, pet battlers. Today we'll continue with your Rating with Leashes 5 Cuticlism achievement. These pets are confirmed drops from bosses, and drop rates have been reported as not too bad. It appears that these pets will drop whether you're on normal or heroic, so do whichever is easiest for you. Last week I covered the pets available in Firelands, and today we're going to take a look at Blackwing Descent and Bastion of Twilight. Head over to the Burning Steps, and you'll be able to get Tinytron from your favorite foursome, Arcanatron, Electron, Magmatron, and Toxictron. Your next pet, the discarded experiment, comes from Eloriac. And last but not least, Rattlejaw will drop from Nefarian himself. After you're done there, fly out to Twilight Highlands and over to Bastion of Twilight. The Twilight Clutch Sister drops from the dragon duo Valiona and Thorelion. The Elementia Monstrosity will reward you with the Bound Stream, and to finish up, you'll go up against Cho'Gall for the Faceless Minion. Have fun running some old content raids, and that's all your WoW Pet news for today.
All right, and our one and only Tank and Address.
What's wrong with tanking? What's wrong with tanking? What's wrong with tanking in a dress? What's wrong with tanking? What's wrong with tanking? What's wrong with tanking in a dress?
Really, I'd say I'm well dressed. So it's now time for Come At Me, a tanking minute. Well, I have been inspired by our running of the gnomes, and I rolled a tank that I'm going to be using in the guild, but I'm using a pally because I'm so attached to them. So yes, it is a dwarf. Yes, I'm being difficult, but I've compensated by saying he's half gnomish on his mother's side. Anyways, so low level tanking. I'm kind of past low level tanking now. In the last week, even though I've been really busy, I've had a little bit of time to try to level my tank. And the truth is, when you are a tank and you want to level, you can do it unbelievably fast. One of the reasons is if you go on a looking for group, you can pretty much queue instantly. You can do any, you can even choose your own. You don't have to do a random. And within usually a few minutes, you're in a group. And if you're in a lot of the groups I've seen, people are so overpowered, you whip through there in almost no time at all. So I was actually feeling some nostalgia, thinking I'd like to go through some old content. But I found that I can really quest maybe 2 or 3 quests in a zone, queue for the related dungeon in that zone, and I'm already too high level for that zone and moving on to the next one. If I wanted to go, and if you as a new learning tank wanted to go really, really quickly in level, you could just chain queue, or even just chain run if you got a group that's interested, chain run dungeons, and you can, along with heirloom gear, level up in no time at all. I'd recommend taking your time though. Enjoy the content, enjoy the moment, don't rush. It's kind of choose your own adventure between going in these really fast groups or do questing. Now, low level tanking though, the intimidation factor is real, and my suggestion is just get over it. What'll happen when you queue, and most people don't realize this unless you've done a lot of these, the tank is often the lowest level tune in the raid. Easy to get intimidated by that, but remember, it's kind of skewed the way the game is set up right now. Not only are you overpowered, but according to the meters, at least that I've seen, I tend to do more damage than tunes that are 2 or 3 levels above me. So you don't have to worry that you're not doing DPS, or you don't have to worry that you're grabbing threat. In fact, one group I was doing chain pulling with, we would go through a whole instance, and it was a non-stop run from the beginning to the very end. I had only time to throw some shields and pull mobs off of something that was going to eat the healer, and try a little bit of AoE. So if you get into one of those groups, don't panic. Just know it's going to move like lightning, and the consequences are pretty small. It's a great way to get your fast reflexes up as you're looking around and trying to figure out how to grab mobs on the fly. So by the time you're ready for raiding, you'll find that raids seem almost tranquil and calm by comparison. And that's come at me, a tanking minute and a half.
Yes, I do know for a fact if you're also doing a healer, a low-level healer, you get right in also. Because Zan and I ran today, and almost insta-queued because the healer was in the group.
Nice.
Yeah, but you're exactly right. It goes so fast. Everybody's in heirloom gear, and he couldn't even get heal spells off before we'd kill everything.
Yeah, or
Between
someone's
the
run out
tank
of
and the
range,
DPS,
right?
yeah. So, yeah, it's unbelievably how fast it is with heirloom gear. So, definitely the fastest way to level.
High Twitch tanking.
Yep. So, it's WFN News, Warcraft Fafford News. The Neither Disruptor is up on the Broken Shores by the time this podcast airs. It has Epic Hunter and Netherstorm. The Weekly Quest, Time Walking Burning Crusades. Go out there and learn that old content again. Yay! I like the Burning Crusades.
That was my favorite place to learn tanking.
WoW tokens are 167, up $3,000 from last week. Not too big of a jump. But here's the cool thing. Listen to this. Hollow's End starts Wednesday.
I can't wait.
Oh.
Yes.
Time for some tricky treats.
I love that. I love that event.
I'm going to save up all my little wands and then use them at Christmas.
Yeah.
Do Halloween at Christmas. Well, there was a cartoon that it was that spooky guy who wanted to be Santa Claus. I don't remember the name of it. It's my niece's favorite show. Nightmare Before Christmas? Isn't that what it's called?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Or Nightmare Before Christmas? Yeah.
Did you see in our last raid somebody had thrown a pumpkin at my head? So I was raiding with a pumpkin on. I don't know who did it, but somebody's already into the spirit.
Yeah, I had a pumpkin on my head on my hunter. I was like, oh, really? Already?
Too soon? Too soon?
They had saved that because you can't get them yet. So that's pretty cool. All right. Well, that's about going to wrap it up. We're going to just shut down just a little early. Not too bad. I want to thank Charm for all of her beautiful music. Please go visit her website and her YouTube channel. The links are in the description below. We don't have to talk about BenSound because JobUi wasn't here, but I'll still mention him anyway. BenSound at bensound.com for JobUi's Minute. Thanks, guys, for coming. And let's all see if you can join us in Lions Pride Tavern on Scarlet Crusade server. And we'll put together a Gnome Race fans. You're all welcome. I don't care if you're in New Zealand or Mexico or Europe. Come join us. We'd love to have you.
Yep, definitely.
See you there.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you guys
Thanks.
next week.
See you
All right,
then.
see you next week.
If you like this podcast, throw us a like and subscribe to our channel. And please, leave comments or questions below. Maybe we'll answer them on the air next podcast. We are hosted on Podomatic.com. Our website is Lionspridetavern.podomatic.com. Our podcast also airs on iTunes for Apple users, Google Play for Androids, and YouTube. Just search World of Warcraft Lions Pride Tavern Podcast. See you next week, and thanks for listening.